In a century where war, hate, and unrest are all too common, there still stands a monument dedicated to peace and friendship. As you drive up I-5, heading away from Ferndale, Washington, you pass through the quiet town of Blaine. To the west lies Vancouver Island, wrapped in the blue blanket of the San Juan Straits. To the east, on a rare clear day, Mount Baker can be seen, the round dome of the summit pressing against the clear sky at over 10,000 feet. To the north lies Canada and the cosmopolitan city of Vancouver, British Columbia. Nestled in the middle of all this scenery and activity, you will find the trim green lawns of a 49-acre park. And in the middle of that park, one leg supported in the Canadian soil, the other in the United States, the Peace Arch rises, poised between both countries, a physical symbol of an imaginary line that stretches over 3,000 miles. The boundary between Canada and the United States, the longest undefended border in the world. Measuring 67 feet high, Forest Hall is an 8-story building. The arch is seen by over 500,000 passing cars and visitors each month. Jointly maintained by the state of Washington and the province of British Columbia, the park is available for visitors and passers-by year-round. As well, it is believed to be the only arch dedicated to peace. The idea for the Peace Arch came at least 8 years before it was built. Several arches were considered for construction along the international border. However, only Blaine's Arch was built, this due in part to the perseverance of Samuel Hill. Over the Peace Arch fly the national flags of the United States and Canada. Originally, the U.S. flag was paired with the Union Jack, Great Britain's flag. Etched at the top of the arch on the U.S. side are the words, "Children of a Common Mother," referring to Mother England. Stepping through the portal, you find a pair of metal gates. "May these gates never be closed" is the phrase carved above one, and above the opposite gate is written 1814 to 1914, open 100 years. The dates refer to the centennial celebration of the Treaty of Ghent, which the arch commemorates. Signed December 24, 1814, the treaty was a declaration of peace marking the end of the War of 1812 between British Canada and the United States, the last armed conflict between the U.S. and Great Britain. It reads in part,
"His Britannic Majesty and the United States of America, desirous of terminating the war which has unhappily subsisted between the two countries, and of resorting, upon principles of perfect reciprocity, peace, friendship, and good understanding between them, have agreed upon the following articles."
The Treaty of Ghent reaffirmed the boundary between the United States and British Canada from the Bay of Fundy to the Lake of Woods as set out in the 1793 Treaty of Paris. Possibly more important than this treaty, at least to the Pacific Northwest, was the 1846 Oregon Treaty, extending the boundary line between British North America and the United States from the Rocky Mountains along the 49th parallel to where the arch stands today. Passing through the arch to stand on the Canadian side, you can read at the top of the span, "Brethren dwelling together in unity." This reference probably comes from the 133rd Psalm, which in the King James Version reads, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." The exterior walls bear bronze plaques of two famous ships. On the Canadian wall, the Beaver is honored as the first steamer to cruise the northern waters of an ocean named for peace, the Pacific. Working up and down the coast from 1836 to 1888, the Beaver gained quite a reputation, even among the Native Americans. Captain William McNeil, commanding the Beaver from 1837 to 1842, is one of very few white men to have his likeness carved on a totem pole. The Beaver ran aground at Vancouver Harbor in 1888. A fragment of wood recovered by divers from the submerged vessel was placed inside the Peace Arch and marked with the plaque. On the United States wall, the Mayflower is remembered as the ship that carried 102 pilgrims to the New World. Behind this plaque was originally placed a piece of timber from the Mayflower. Dr. Rendell Harris discovered the dismantled Mayflower built into a barn at Jordan's Bucks in England. Dr. Harris investigated for 3 years before concluding that the Jordan's barn is in fact the rebuilt remains of the Mayflower. The timber piece was presented to Peace Arch creator Sam Hill and project supporter Frank Terrace, also a Good Roads pioneer, February 12, 1921, by Mr. A. Cotterell, a representative of the British Society of Friends. Upon receiving the timber, Sam Hill said,
"I thank thee, and I take it feeling the responsibility it conveys, a link of peace between Great Britain and the USA. I am glad that this link is forged on Lincoln's birthday, which today is celebrated as a holiday throughout the states."
Construction of the Peace Arch began in July 1920. The project was directed by W.E. Simmons of Vancouver, B.C. Laborers from both countries worked side by side toward a common goal, completing a monument dedicated to international peace, friendship, and brotherhood. Using 76 pilings driven 25 to 30 feet into the ground for support, the arch is virtually earthquake-proof. Framed with 50 tons of steel and constructed of 800 cubic yards of concrete, it took 7 months for the concrete to set. The Peace Arch was completed the summer of 1921. The International Peace Arch was dedicated on September 6, 1921, just 3 years after the end of World War I. Samuel Hill had chosen the state for other historic references as well. For example, the Mayflower had left Plymouth, England on that very same day in 1620. The city of Blaine, under the leadership of Mayor Hunter, declared the day a half-day holiday. In fact, over 10,000 people attended the ceremony. The celebration began with the arrival of the Princess Patricia from Victoria carrying 383 passengers, including BC Premier John Oliver. Frank Terrace carried the American flag that would be raised over the Peace Arch. The 72 Highlanders Band from Victoria played the pipes. George Elsperman, Deputy Collector of the Port of Blaine, opened the ceremony, then handed the microphone over to Sam Hill.
War satisfies neither the victors nor the vanquished. Perfect peace alone satisfies. The instincts of humankind have not been changed by education and only slightly modified by religion. When war holds sway, there are no religions. The dominant, though not the most widely accepted religion, made its way by non-resistance. All great movements must proceed if they are destined to prevail. The ceremony in which we take part today marks the recognition of the oneness of the English-speaking race and its friendship not alone for the white race, but its earnest desire to be at peace with all the world. The United States and Canada, side by side for 3,000 miles, wish for no better neighbor.
The Bellingham Elks Band played the British national anthem as the Union Jack rose. The Stars and Stripes flew to the U.S. national anthem played by Victoria's Navy League Band. The dedication ended with the reading of a message from U.S. President Warren Harding to Samuel Hill.
The ancient Romans erected a temple to Janus, a dispenser of peace and war, and ordered that its gates should never be closed while the nation was at war. In 7 centuries, they are said to have been closed but 3 times. You have erected a temple of peace whose gates are never to be closed, save in war. Already it stands for more than a century of unbroken peace between Britain and America, and we all join in the hope that in coming times it may commemorate an era of peace much longer than the periods of war for which the Temple of Janus stood. Our century and more of peace with the British Empire, our relations of unbroken amity with Canada, the fact that a boundary line over 3,000 miles long remains unfortified. These are the testimonies that the world grows wiser and better. All mankind looks to this example, yearns to follow it, and we are justified to believe that a time is at hand when it may take a long step in that direction. On the occasion of dedication of the Pacific Peace Portal, I wish to convey to you personally my high appreciation of your patriotic service in providing a symbolic shrine to the international peace, and in doing so I would also thank the Pacific Highway Association, the builder of the portal, for the fine cooperation it has rendered.
The evening ended with a fireworks display, which cost the kingly sum of $1,000, particularly when you consider that in that age, a coal miner made 83 cents an hour. The story of Peace Portal Park doesn't end here. On March 29, 1922, the United States Senate passed Senate Resolution 263, recognizing the importance of the peaceful and long-lasting friendship of Canada, and thanking Samuel Hill and his associates for making the Peace Portal Monument a reality. The arch sat in relative unuse for almost 9 years. In 1930, thanks to the brainchild of the International Flag Day Association, the Lasting Peace Campaign began in hopes of expanding the park on both sides of the border. Washington State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Noah Showalter, approved the plan.
Lasting peace can be established only by first writing it in the hearts of childhood and youth.
335,000 public school children, along with their teachers, were invited to join in to help raise funds for the proposed park. During that time, the burden of the Great Depression was affecting everyone, but that didn't stop the kids.
Will you try to earn a dime yourself and invest it with all the rest of us in this new international park? You may not be able to get immediate returns on this investment, but I am certain that large dividends will come to you as the years go by. For certainly, we shall all feel proud of our plan to promote New World Fellowship for greater faith and trust in others.
Children were asked to give up to 10 cents and teachers no more than 25, because at that time, public school teachers made about $120 a month. Washington State children raised $1,200. According to Superintendent Showalter, Blaine Public School was the first Washington State school to send in their fundraising quota. In the following year, in a similar campaign, Canadian children raised $2,000. Washington State Representative and Blaine resident Andrew Danielson introduced House Bill 272, requesting that $35,000 be appropriated for land to create a Peace Arch Park. Danielson's bill, reduced to $15,000, passed the Senate in 1931, shortly after Samuel Hill's death, making the park the Samuel Hill Memorial Park. The park acreage came from a combination of land deeded from the Great Northern Railroad and land purchased through Danielson's Peace Park bill. The Lasting Peace Campaign, the money raised by the school children, provided additional funds for landscaping that included the original Rose Garden. The arch stands now for everyone's enjoyment, whether they are just passing through the border for a day or are coming to the park to have a picnic. But the arch is also a symbol of the peace and trilateral friendship that exists between the United States, Canada, and Britain, a peace that has lasted for well over 100 years, and we can all hope will last for 1,000 more.
It was a nice September day, and I remember that no one had any cars or bicycles. We all walked to school. Some of them walked 4 and 5 miles to school. And so this day, we got there, and they said, "You're all going to march over to the Peace Arch. It's going to be open." Everybody behaved well, and we did. We were so excited at being told to wear a white blouse and a dark skirt. the girls and the boys were supposed to have white blouses or shirts on.
We didn't have a car then. Not too many people did. We had a horse and buggy. I think there was 2 seats on the buggy, and my mother and myself and my sister went to watch the dedication of the Peace Arch. And I can remember being tied up at a telephone pole over there. And a photographer in Blaine, the name of Brayford, had the pictures from that. And I recognized our horse tied to a... I didn't enjoy the trip back and forth on a horse and buggy on a gravel road, steel wheels. But otherwise, I don't remember much else about it.
Yeah, the first time I'd ever seen a PA system, they had on every telephone post. That's right. You see, that was just a swamp down there, cattails and stuff like that. And so we had to get ready for that celebration. So we go down there with old-style size and cut the stuff down, and we made benches for them to sit on. That was right after the war. Lumber company furnished us the lumber cut to size, and in the building downtown here, well, we went down there at night and put them together. We made 400 benches. And then Walton and Montfort, that was a hardware store here, they furnished us with paint. The trouble there was it was paint that was made during the war, and it had fish oil in it, and it didn't dry good. It never did get really dry. We had to put newspapers and stuff on so people wouldn't get it on the seat of their pants. Yeah, it was a kind of a different world in those days, all right. The committee as I was on, and we had a celebration on the 2nd of July. That's between the 1st of July, Canadian holiday, and the 4th of July, our holidays. And we used to have pretty good celebrations. Sometimes it would last 3 or 4 days.
I can remember the day that I belonged to a children's band that was sponsored by the city of Blaine, also by the Elks Club, Elks Lodge, rather. Nowadays, they don't like the name of juvenile, but that's what it was in those days, Blaine Juvenile Band, and there was some 60 in the band. And how my dad and mother ever did it, I don't know, because there were 3 of us in the band. I was the oldest, and I played a clarinet, and my oldest brother played a trombone, and my middle brother played the French horn, and my baby brother was too young to go. He had to be 6 years old. We were tickled with being invited after watching the Peace Arch go up. And at first, you know, it was outlined in electric lights. And so then on 4th of July, they changed those lights to red, white, and blue. And it really is pretty. Now it's being flooded with floodlights, different, but it used to be light bulbs.
I think it's something that's very unique in the world. I've never heard of another Peace Arch that's been put up and looked after and enjoyed over the years, neighbor to neighbor. I think if we find somebody stopped on the side of the road, and whether they have an American car or not, we stop to help them. And, we didn't think very much, you know, it wasn't a big thing going across the border. It was just friends across the way.
It is worthwhile to consider just what the word peace means when we look at and admire the beauty of the arch. For the beauty lies in the idea that inspired it, as much as in the balance of the architecture standing before us. Peace, the absence of war or other hostilities. An agreement or treaty to end hostilities. Freedom from quarrels and disagreement. Harmonious relations. Inner contentment. Used as a greeting or farewell. Peace.